I was at a training a few years ago and the presenter said that hurriedness is the true sin of busyness. And that phrase landed like a ton of bricks on me. The whole room was silent. And see, that's what happens when someone drops a truth bomb. Now, we need to address this topic, this issue today, because for some reason here in America, we tend to celebrate movement over results. And we seem to have forgotten that going faster does not lead to getting more things done. Oftentimes we compare who had a busier weekend, how many places we serve or volunteer at, how many activities our kids are in. And being hurried and rushed just makes us look dumb, unprepared, and quite honestly, like an amateur. And I know it because like many of you, I struggle with it at times. But the thing that we have to remember is that every time that you rush and hurry, we miss things. The thing that we miss might not be all that important until it is. We miss a turn. We forget our wallet. We miss a sign that someone needs to speak with us. Maybe we cut an important conversation short. We forget to return or to even make the call. We forget to pick up the kids after school. Hurriedness is one of the biggest, if not the biggest threat to our joy, our fulfillment, and our success in life. And we owe it to ourselves. You owe it to yourself to be better than that. And so that's the topic for this edition of the Coach's Corner on the Confidence Covered by Humility podcast. Hello again, and welcome to Confidence Covered by Humility, where we explore together what it means to lead our businesses, our teams, and our homes with humble confidence. Now, if you're finding value here, can I ask you a favor? Would you just take 2 seconds and go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you know when a new episode drops? And if you're a savvy consumer of content, which I think you probably are, you know that when you leave a 5-star review or a comment, it really helps more people see this. Now, I want to get right into the heart of this very important topic today. As I mentioned, hurriedness is potentially the biggest threat to your joy, your fulfillment, and success. And let's look at 3 significant areas where hurriedness can impact you. Number 1, it impacts you internally. So it creates stress and anxiety. Maybe you feel exhausted. It can cause you to feel frustrated. You feel overwhelmed, or it even contributes to negative self-talk, and it hurts your confidence. Now, the second area that hurriedness impacts you is with your productivity and efficiency. Now, this is primarily at work, but it might show up on the weekend too. See, it causes you to be careless, leading to making mistakes. When you're hurried, the quality of your work just overall suffers. You're going to miss goals. It leads to missed opportunities for you to go above and beyond, and because you're always pushing and rushing through things. It'll eventually hurt your profits. And don't miss this, if you have team members, especially if you're the team leader, this will lower your team's morale and engagement. It is a threat to your organization's culture. Hurriedness becomes what I call an accidental value, and it'll permeate throughout your company. Number 3, hurriedness impacts your relationships, both personal and professional. Things like strained communication. You'll say or hear, "I didn't know. No one told me. This is the first time I've heard of this." Hurriedness causes you to break promises because you have competing priorities. So when you're rushed, you make poor decisions. You become reactive, or perhaps you act spontaneously, and that makes you vulnerable again to mistakes. Hurriedness is a driver of frustration and even bitterness toward others. I refer to that as the EF scale, the enhanced frustration scale. And as that scale goes up, the greater the tension and conflict between people. And this almost always results in some type of elimination between people. That could mean someone gets fired or they quit, a friendship is lost, or maybe a marriage ultimately ends in a divorce. So what are some of the reasons that we get in a hurry? Well, let's take a look at 3. Just these 3 are amazingly important ones to analyze because they're not about time management. They're much more significant than that. We have to start by looking at our ego, because it's our egos that cause us to have this distorted view of ourselves. Our egos prevent us from asking for help because we want people to know that, hey, we've got this. And so we say, I've got this, I'm good. And as you do this over and over, you start to build this reputation for not asking for help so others don't offer it. And when you finally hit that wall and you realize that you do need help from others, there's this feeling that there's no one there because, well, you taught them. As a result, you're overly busy, overextended, and exhausted, and you'll feel lonely and even isolated. The first reason that we get hurried is that we don't have confidence in others. We believe that others can't do it the way we think it should be done or to the degree that we think it should be done. So rather than teach and guide, well, we just do it ourselves. And that just creates some unintended consequences where people on your team, they start to lose confidence in themselves and you. And this is one of the 4 dark sides of leadership that I teach when I'm working with companies to help them develop a strong internal leadership pipeline, which is really an essential pillar for their continued growth. So if we don't address things like that, you're going to be left feeling like you don't have people ready for an elevated role. You're probably right, but you may not realize that you actually allowed this to happen. You created that situation. Now, the second reason that we get hurried is that you have this tendency to think that you can or you should do it all. And this is especially true of newer leaders, because when we're given a new and elevated role, we want to be seen as hardworking and accomplished. Now, if this is you, understand that you will have responsibilities, but they've shifted. You're going to spend a lot of your time teaching, guiding, encouraging, and mentoring. And this is often missed or undervalued because you feel like you're not doing anything. However, this shift in responsibilities is how you build a strong team. The work looks different, and it's just as important. Arguably, it's more important than when you were a contributor. Now, here are a few more things that are going to cause us to feel hurried. Here's a big one: overcommitting. Now, some of you are habitual overcommitters. You have this reputation of accomplishing a lot of work and achieving a variety of goals. So when you give your word, it's your word, and you don't break your word. Now, don't miss this. Every time that you overcommit, it comes at the expense of a priority. And that means you miss little Molly's soccer game, or you're not home for dinner, even though you and your spouse agreed and committed to having dinner together as a family. Overcommitting is going to create tension between you and others, potentially putting you behind on deadlines, and eventually leading to feeling resentful for how much hard work and effort you're putting in, but you don't feel recognized or rewarded for it. Now, one other factor we'll talk about today that causes us to feel rushed and hurried is having or lacking a process or a system. Now, I realize that there's really 2 opposing philosophies to this. Some of you are stubborn and you reject the notion of using a process. I know, because I've been like that. You think processes will limit you or confine you, and you'd rather wing it and work it out as you go. And you want to allow for those variables and those customizations. Let me just say this: if that's you, then maybe you're thinking about processes the wrong way. And here's why. A great process allows for flexibility. It provides freedom and creativity. And it gives you a repeatable framework from which you can execute it more efficiently. Having a solid process or system also allows you to teach others how they can do it. And it eliminates a lot of the gaps in communication that leads to dumb and recurring mistakes. Processes don't cause you to lose time. They give you more time, so you're not hurried and that you don't miss important details. So what can you do if this sounds like this is you? Well, in just a moment, we'll discuss 3 things that you can do to eliminate the stress and irritation of hurriedness so you and others around you, you're more productive and more fulfilled. Before we get there, I just want to share a brief clip from the next episode of Confidence Covered by Humility. Roll it.
And I feel like now I am so much stronger. I feel like if from this journey, honestly, I'm blessed that I got to go through cancer. I have learned so much. I want to help people. And it has centered me. It has brought me to meaning and purpose. And I will continue to live my life like that, which is really awesome. People wait for retirement for meaning and purpose. That's when they're like, okay, now I get to relax. Now I get to figure out what my day looks like. I worked all these years. I've stressed. Now it's time for me to relax. Can you imagine? It is such a beautiful thing to know that I can find relaxation in myself. I can find mental clearing. I can care enough about my body my mind and my spirit to start to heal it and to listen to it. And that's something that I would not have done. I would have kept going. I would have kept feeding the stress.
This is going to be a great episode, and I'm so excited for you to see it. Let's get back to 3 things that you can do to eliminate the stress and irritation of hurriedness so you can be more productive and feel more fulfilled. Number 1, we want to identify factors that cause you to be hurried. Look at it this way. Are there internal factors such as control or perfectionism that are causing you to hold on to too many things? Are there some external factors like a schedule that's jam-packed with prior commitments, like serving on boards or committees? Be as honest and objective as you can during this part. And if you struggle, you may want to ask someone close to you for their perspective, like a spouse or a coworker, someone that you trust. Number 2, let's work on changing your perspective. What if you decided that you're not pursuing perfection, but instead you're pursuing mastery? What if you determined that you're not here to be perfect, but to help others achieve excellence? It shifts your role from being inward focused to being more outward focused because you're helping others to take that leap of ownership for their growth and their development. Embrace even that change isn't going to be perfect. When you do this, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be downright messy at times, but you'll be investing in others, which is beneficial and lasting benefits. Number 3, get clarity. Sometimes in our desire to impress others, coupled with our excitement, we can easily miss important details. I remember a call I had with a potential new client. We had just had this great conversation and I was eager to send over a proposal. I wanted to impress them. I wanted them to make them feel valued and special. So I said, I'll have the proposal to you by the end of the day. And as I hustled to get it done, as a result of prioritizing that, I actually got way behind on some other important things, which meant I had to work well into the evening. It disrupted my whole schedule. The part that I missed was this. The client was going to be gone the rest of that week, into the next week even. And had I simply just slowed down and asked the question, hey, when would you like to have this by? It would have saved myself some stress for sure. See, when we hurry, even when our motivations are pure, we can cause ourselves that unnecessary stress from deadlines, and it goofs up our priorities. So there's your homework assignment. Get honest about what's causing you to feel rushed and hurried. Work on changing your perspective. And take a few minutes to get clear on the expectations. You're going to be really happy that you did. I'm James Mayhew, and I'm blessed to partner with leaders to build purpose-driven organizations filled with talented people doing exceptional work on the most important things. And as always, I want to thank you for coming along on this journey with me, and I hope to see you again on the next episode.